Thanks for watching our show. This is another edition of Pittsburgh Sports Line. We have a great lineup here with Chip Hayner, Smoking Jim Frazier, and Big Mike Butera. I'm Al Levine, the talking machine, and I have a couple promos here to do. This is what I do, folks. We got it. Chip, you might have to hold that. March 8th, there's a Steeler basketball team that's going to play the Bethel Park Police Pals. And Smoking Jim and I are going to be announcers there. We're going to do interviews, and we're going to have a special guest star, Chip Hayner, and his lovely wife, Stephanie. They'll be there. And then we have a Night in Blue Policeman's Ball. We'll put that up. This is on March 16th. This is the Western Pennsylvania Police Benevolent Foundation, and they help the fallen officers' families, and we've had too many lately. And this will be at South Hills Country Club at 6 p.m., March 16th. And just check it out online, and we'll keep announcing here on getting your tickets there and who to contact. But the Western Pennsylvania Benevolent Police Foundation, contact them. You have Officer Drew here in Bethel Park, and contact Rich Griffin. They're good at getting you the tickets, and we'll see you there at South Hills Country Club. And now we go with what's on our mind.
Before you say that, where's the basketball game going to be on?
Oh, man, I'm slipping here. I did say Bethel Park, but it's going to be in that brand new basketball court in Bethel Park High School.
Wow.
Just so you know, put that in on your GPS. Right. We've only been around 1 year. So.
Let's start lobbying for naming it after the Hammer.
Yes.
You know that? They made Bethel Park's.
Yeah,
Bethel Park's son.
You
know, all these Bethel Park folks, let's not forget about them.
And Smoking Jim, you get an assist there because I did fumble the ball. Well, it's hockey season, so we scored a goal on that one.
Yeah.
Now we're going to do what's on our mind. Big Mike Butera, what's on your mind?
Well, since it is hockey season and we have a game tonight, you're going to keep us posted with your...
Yes, sir.
All right, very good.
He's big into hockey. Big. Real big. Big.
Just so you guys know, I always give a shout out to my friends Rick and Loretti in Frankfurt, and they're going through a tough time right now.
What about Haji?
What about Haji? I didn't give him a shout out. I'm asking you, just the guys that keep Rick and Loretti in mind, okay?
Okay, I'll let you continue.
Well, I appreciate it. And all the other guys, little Nicky from Export, Big Jim in Lawrenceville, Rollo in Columbus, and Epstein's mother.
Hey, can I do a shout out? Big Joe, I know you're watching the show. He's one of our newest fans in Bethel Park. I gave a shout out a couple weeks ago. Big Joe, I know you're watching the show tonight, so hello.
Any hockey updates? You know, it seems like we do this every week. I heard the guy, help me with his name, Manateo. Yeah, he's at this combine, I think it is, and his scores aren't doing so well and all this jazz. So I don't know if this is like a discreditation at the guy or what, but now I'm hearing that his calling in the lottery might be affected because of some inferences that he may he may be public television, he may be, this gay, and
you mean a happy type of guy?
Very, and I am too. Not that there's anything wrong with it.
Jovial.
The thing that, jovial.
Okay.
The thing that I don't understand this. I mean, I really don't.
What's your point of this? I'm confused.
The point is, why should it be a point? What does it matter?
This is America in 2013. I agree with you.
Honest to goodness, I mean, because the only things I can come up with would be a religious, a guy would be some sort of religious player that he doesn't believe in that jazz, and so be it. And
Can I interrupt you for 1 second?
I don't
This
even
is
have it
the
that
captain of Notre Dame.
way. Catholic school.
Yeah. So I'm confused on your point there.
Well, I'm not getting.
The more you interrupt, the longer this takes.
All right. What are you trying to say, that this is such a controversy now?
Can we do a take two?
No, this is live.
This is live.
Oh my
so
God.
let's
And
get
Frank's
moving.
our cameraman. He's a no-nonsense camera guy.
We've already
And
got
he's
it out.
looking at you right now, and he told me earlier, if you want to go to just a 3-shot ad, we'll do a 3-shot. I never knew what it was until you started talking on this. What's on our mind? I'm not the movie guy.
Gentlemen,
like
we've only got an hour.
Right. So go ahead, Mike. I'll let you finish your point.
I just don't like that jazz. And I'm not talking about your interruption. I live for your interruptions. Again, if a guy's so religious that it rubs him the wrong way, he shouldn't be on a football field. He should be on a pulpit. Now, no, that's fact. Now, do you remember when Magic Johnson was discovered HIV positive, and there was a groundswell of players didn't want to play because of, like, what do you call it, the blood spurts or whatever? I kind of understand that, but nevertheless, that has nothing to do with the fact that these guys are coming out and say, well, I don't play with gay players, or this might affect his ranking when he comes out of the, what do you call it, in the draft. It's just so wrong to me. And I'm not an advocate. I don't profess to be better than the rest or anything because, like, I don't have any prejudices. I just heard that today, and I just thought it sucked, and that was on my mind, even though I had other things were on my mind.
Okay, well then, moving forward here, I'm going to go
Al, excuse me, may I interrupt you?
anytime.
Do we have a choice?
I just want to see if it worked. That's all.
It can work again, my friend. We're going to revisit this.
Let's do it.
Not a problem. Okay, man. It was beautiful. And now, Smoking Jim Frazier, what's on your mind?
Hard nails interruptions.
That's another segment.
That's another segment.
We got another segment.
You know what's on my mind real quick is everybody knows that I put the women on the highest of pedestals. And I didn't even realize for years and years and years that a woman could ever lie. And it goes back to my college days. My college roommate played football with me, and he moved out to move in with a girl one time, and he fell in love, and he moved in with a girl, and it lasted about a week. About a week after that, he comes up to the locker room, and he's all sad, and he's bummed out, and I said, "What's wrong?" He says, "Man, things didn't work out with Lisa." He says, can I move back in with you? I says, "Man, you're my brother. I'll do anything for you. Love you like a brother. What happened?" He says, "Man, it didn't work out. I was just wondering if I could move back in with you." I said, "Well, no, you can't, but what happened?" He says, "Lisa didn't come home till 10 o'clock Saturday morning, and I asked her where she was, and she says that, I just decided to spend the night with my girlfriend Sarah last night." And he says, "I knew she was lying right away because I spent the night last night with Sarah." But anyhow, what's on my mind is, it was on my mind.
I can't even think of interrupting right now. What is going on at that end of the table, Jim? I can't wait till we get focused there. Oh, sorry, Smoking Jim. That's part of Al's interruption time.
Well, real quick, what's on my mind is
Take your time.
All this mileage you're getting out of the Ron Cook story on LaMarr Woodley. LaMarr Woodley's one of the best linebackers in the National Football League. Guys like LaMarr Woodley and Casey Hampton's never going to get in shape. And as a writer, I just wanted to let the people know really what we rely on. As a writer, sports writers, we're nothing but PR people, public relations people. We relate what's going on with the Penguins, the Pirates, and the Steelers. We relate it to the public. We're public relations people. And we rely on anonymous sources. A writer, a journalist, a reporter can't do his job unless you get anonymous sources. Most guys in the locker room knows when it comes out to be an anonymous source. They know who's really saying what to what reporters. I didn't read the article on Ron Cook, but from what I'm hearing from the article, it really didn't sound like a player to me. Sounds more like it came from a coach trying to motivate LaMarr Woodley or front office personnel people dropping the bomb. But listen, if I really wanted to find out who said what to Ron Cook, if I really believed it was a player, it would take me about 32 or 33 seconds to really figure it out. First of all, I could eliminate 75% of the Steeler players from saying anything because all the black players, none of them have any relationship with Ron Cook. So that's first of all. And then of the 25% that's left, I could narrow it down to 4 or 5 players. Those are the 4 or 5 players that he consistently has on his radio talk show that he interviews throughout the season. So it's real easy to really figure it out if it was a player who dropped a dime on LaMarr Woodley, and that's what's on my mind.
Thanks, Smoking Jim. Appreciate it. Now, Jeff, you're my last chance for some good sports talk here. What's on your mind,
What's
Jeff?
on my mind? Well, in the first place, you know what I'd like to say is, last night I had one of the weakest "What's on my mind" openings of my entire career here, and I apologize for that. But I'm
Let
back
me interrupt you.
No,
You're right.
Don't. Let me tell you something. I'm back in the seat I belong in because I am following Smoking Jim Frazier, and he is a tough act to follow, and he puts me on my game. What's on my mind? Okay, let's talk about the Pittsburgh Pirates just real briefly. We're not going to get into the nuts and bolts about spring training. The game got rained out today, but that's neither here nor there. But I have heard people in Pittsburgh bellyache and moan about Bob Nutting, and he's a horrible owner for the Pirates, and he needs to spend some money because we deserve better, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm so sick of hearing it, I want to vomit, okay? There are examples in sports right now of the kind of owners that the Pirates could have. And I'm not the hugest Bob Nutting fan in the world, but I think the direction that he's got this team headed in is going in the right direction right now. I believe he's got the right people in place. We'll know by the end of the season whether or not, I know what I'm talking about, or if I am full of crap, because there's going to be a general manager and a manager that probably don't have a job. But just take a quick look down in Miami at the Miami Marlins and their owner, Jeffrey Loria. Now, what has gone on there in Miami is something that Bud Selig, the commissioner of Major League Baseball, should have never let happen. Here's a brief synopsis of what went on. Jeff Loria went to the people of Miami and begged them for public funds to build him a new stadium. And if you build me a new stadium, I will pack that stadium for you. I will bring you a championship caliber team. And he spent a boatload of money doing that and failed miserably because he's not a very good judge of character. And you just can't go out and buy the highest priced free agents on the market and expect to have a winning team. Teams need some chemistry, something that I think is being developed here with the young guys on Pittsburgh who've got a core group. So they spent all this money, and they ended up being the worst team in baseball last year. So Jeffrey Loria, with his promises of bringing the city of Miami all this luxury tax from all this sporting events and these sellouts and everything, he decides, well, geez, we failed so miserably last year, I'm going to blow up the team. Well, this year the Pirates' payroll is going to be the highest it's ever been. It's getting up, pushing close to $80 million. It's not the highest. It's in the lower end of what Major League teams spend, but it's nothing to be completely ashamed of because there are teams that spent less last year that made the playoffs. The Miami Marlins' salary for this season for the team is less than what Alex Rodriguez is getting paid for not playing baseball. Wow. Okay, so now what you've got is a brand new shiny stadium in Miami with empty seats and you're getting no tax revenue out of it. So what Jeffrey Loria did was he deceived the people, the taxpayers, and I think, when he decided to blow up this team, this is where Bud Selig should have came in and said, no, this is wrong, you cannot do this, okay? But our commissioner, baseball's commissioner, has no spine. Your drug testing program is a joke. It's a farce. Guys get rewarded for testing positive. They get a 50-game suspension, and then they get a double or triple their salary for the next year. I think it's time for Bud Selig to actually be a commissioner. We complain about Roger Goodell. We complain about Gary Bettman, but at least, they're doing things to try to help better their sports. We may not agree with the way they go about doing it, but that's what's on my mind.
Nice, Jeff. We may revisit a few of those points since a couple of the things I was going to bring up. I heard a good interview on The Fan by McCutcheon. It was very interesting. We can discuss that under a Pirates segment. But what's on my mind is the Penguins. They're a first-place team. Malkin's hurt. Hopefully it's not going to last too long. He's on that short-term injury reserve list. And they brought Mark Eaton back, he had a good career here as a defensive player. And look at how we're playing. Vacoon's going to be in net tonight. So all of you guys...
Couldn't wait to put that in, could he?
So anybody that's watching the show that's still watching the show at 7:30, you can text us or text me, or you could call in 412-831-3304 and let me know what's going on in the game because they're in first place. I'm happy the Penguins are there, and there's a different type of organization that has a winning culture. Hopefully the Pirates will catch up to that. Like, look at how many times Malkin or Crosby's been hurt in the last 3-4 years. They rarely play together. We're at the 20-game mark. We're almost halfway through the season. So we have a fresh Crosby. Look at how he was before he got hurt when he was scoring like crazy. So he scored the last 5 out of 6 games with a point. I think he's going to come on strong here. These guys always step it up, and we're in first place. So let's enjoy it, fans. Don't get down on them. If they lose a game, what's it matter here? It's still a sprint to the finish. They'll be there. That's what's on my mind. And now we go to another segment, revisit what's on our mind. And I have to ignore that end of the table because I couldn't follow it.
The whole end of the table's your end of the table.
And I wanted to
down
interrupt
there.
myself on this one before
Pardon
I
the
continue.
interruption.
Excuse me, Mike, but I'm going to interrupt myself. We'll revisit any point that Big Mike has because we mentioned some of it yesterday that it's actually playing in the Smokin' Jim's prediction on getting that gentleman that you say we don't know what his who knows what they're saying about it with this happiness and gay stuff you're talking about. I mean, it's America now. If he drops in the draft, it should be more because of missing all the tackles in the Alabama game. A 4.8 40-yard dash for a linebacker, that might be a tad slow, Smokin' Jim. That's what I wanted to ask.
Well, 4.8 for a linebacker is, for a middle linebacker, it's not very slow. That's actually right around the average. And you got some guys that's real fast. And Monte says that when he used to work out with his girlfriend, he could run a 4.6 and a 4.5.
Did he catch her?
Yeah, I don't think. I think she was a little
I heard
quicker.
she was chasing him when he ran his 40.
But if you look at all the great middle linebackers, Ray Nitzke, what did he run in a 40? What did Jack Lambert run in a 40?
That
What does
first
Ray
10
Lewis-
yards is all they worry
Yeah,
about.
what does Ray Lewis run in a 40? You know, this is a guy who lost an awful lot of weight. He used to be 255 pounds. But these guys lose weight. He came in at a little bit over 240, 241 pounds at the combine. He's going to come to training camp at 250, 252. This is a guy that's a coach's son. He's 6'2". You can't teach. Now, I heard some of the scouts say, well, that Notre Dame all of a sudden Notre Dame had a great defensive line. I don't know where that came from. They kept the tackles off of him. He had 113 tackles. Well, he averaged for 4 years 109 tackles a year. So this has been a tackling machine for 4 years, not just last year. So I hope he falls. I don't care what his sexual preference is. I like to see him come on in. You know, he's not going to be my roommate on road games. So it doesn't matter to me. I would, like I said, he's a type kid that I would give up my entire draft to draft a guy like that. That's how high I am.
Wow.
Well, you know, Jim, I respect your opinion as far as, you know, the evaluating college talent, high school talent, you know, who can, you know, I know, and I defer to you because you study that, you're an expert, and I'll go on record as saying that. Here's some of the concerns that I have about Teo. You know, I mean, you don't care, you know, about his, you know, 40-yard dash speed, but, you know, I mean, because a great football player has great instincts, and it doesn't matter how fast you are. You know, Ray Lewis may not have ever been the fastest linebacker on the field, but he always was there at the point of attack.
Yes, sir.
Okay? But here's some of the things that caused me to be a little bit concerned about Manti Te'o, and I think about the first play from scrimmage that when Notre Dame played Pitt. Ray Graham ran 55 yards, and he ran right past Te'o, you know, and you saw what happened to him. He kind of got a little bit exposed in the national championship game, you know, missed a lot of tackles and everything like that, but, you know, doesn't mean that the kid can't play football, you know, and anybody can have a bad game, you know, and I know you've watched more film on him than I have. Those are what some of my concerns are. I don't care about his off-the-field things. You know, everybody's making such a big deal about, you know, this catfishing thing, quote unquote. But here's the things about Manti Te'o that, you know, that people are seem to overlooking. You know, he hasn't used performance-enhancing drug. He didn't beat up his girlfriend. You know, he hasn't stolen anything. I mean, you know, he hasn't gotten a DUI and tried to run over cops or anything like that. I mean, you know, there's a lot of positives about this young man, and I think, you know, he made a mistake in his life. Okay, he's made a mistake. He's come clean. He's been humiliated. You know what? Let him now move on with his life, and you know, he may end up being somebody that, you know, that the Steelers could you know, turn into
Number
you know,
17.
a quality linebacker. But you know. we'll have to wait and see what happens. But I do defer to your expertise because, like I said, I just haven't seen enough film on him to be able to really criticize him. Those were just my legitimate concerns.
Thank you, sir.
Nice. Well, a couple of things on the baseball with Bud Selig. He shouldn't be the commissioner. It's quite obvious. Look at how he left the team that he owned, Milwaukee, to become commissioner. So, I mean, that's some crazy stuff there. And we keep complaining about all the Hall of Fame and the rules and PEDs and how you can take all these different drugs and get away with it, bigger contracts, and it's going to continue there. So you're not going to get him out.
Because we don't, whether you love or hate Roger Goodell, he's visible. He's doing something. He's involved.
You never talked this highly of Goodell.
No, wait a minute. I'd be his biggest critic in the world,
Right.
but you can't say that he isn't involved in doing and being a commissioner.
Oh, yes.
Whether you agree with him or disagree with him,
And we do.
and Gary Bettman, for lack of anything better to say about him, he's made himself a noticeable presence, with the NHL Players Union. And what about Billy Hunter? He's the wasn't he the commissioner of the, he was the head of the Players Union for the NBA. Didn't he? Oh, yeah, that's right. He doesn't have a job anymore. So,
All right, unless Big Mike wants to revisit anything. Big Mike, one question. You got anything to revisit?
I am terrified to stick my head out. He is on fire
Yeah, he's
tonight.
on fire.
One
He's
bad
on
"What's
fire.
on Your Mind" segment, and it guy goes nuts.
Yeah, but you should have seen how.
Oh, no,
I
he-
laid
no,
an egg
he's-
last
Matter of
No,
fact,
I-
folks,
I'll
when
watch
it comes
I'll
out,
watch it.
you can watch Pittsburgh Sportsline at Sips Bar. We'll post it up. You got to become a fan of our Pittsburgh
I watch it.
Sportsline.
I
No,
watch it.
Facebook. We're on Facebook now.
I can't do that.
You got to do
I
Facebook
can't-
just
I
to
can't
like
do
us.
that.
We cracked 102, Smoking Jim.
All right.
We're over 100
I'm
now.
proud.
I'll
We're
be-
working on the second 100. We're trying to build that up. We'll put more stuff out there.
I was 0 for 4 last night.
No, I'll be.
Yeah,
Look,
well, that-
I don't know. I'll
we'll
find
talk
out.
some
I
other
died.
things.
I
Hey,
died.
matter of fact, we'll go to my other segment here. Pittsburgh Sportsline at Sips Bar. We had a great time last night. Great guests. And one young man, I don't know if you can get this, Frank.
Oh, yeah, Brenner.
Brenner Contracting. Zach Brenner. He put on a great performance
Sure
last
did.
night.
He sure did.
We
Had a
had
great conversation about Pitt basketball. I think.
we
Yes,
covered
did.
that, and we had a few other guests. We had Heather Tate, who's been on the show before, one of Smoking Jim's friends, businesswomen, and he actually is going to do some boxing
Throw that
announcing
tie
with
down
her too. So, cool him down. Then we had another sports lady, Nikki White, come to the
How
show.
you spell Nikki?
Nicky with an E, apostrophe E. I know my guests, Smoking Jim. I may not know them coming in, but I know after they go. Then we had Rayco War Saunders. He was unreal with his description of his fight and the activities that he has. You have to watch our show when it's posted up there with Pittsburgh Sportsline at Sips Sports Bar. That'll probably be up in the next day.
And
It was a
also
great show there.
What Rayco's doing to help the other fighters in the
That's what
Pittsburgh
I want.
area.
That's what
absolutely.
I want to get into. He's also a mentor, and he also goes and coaches these guys and gives them a lot of tips. And this guy does not eat any flesh, no meat. And you should see him. He's like this. He's solid.
I'll tell you what.
I mean, and he come to downtown Dormont to visit the show, just like that. That's how solid he is. I mean, did you hear that? And then one of the greatest artists that I ever met at 18 years old, Shane Washington. His portfolio from Bruce Lee to Marilyn Monroe, all sketches, reminds us of the artist Tempe Moore that we had on. And you got to check her out. Art for Yins. We don't mind dropping names on the show when you're a guest and you talk sports. But this young man, he's going to win the 100-yard, the 100-meter dash. He's at 10.9 right now. He's an athlete at Montour High School.
And his dad has every right in the world to be proud of him.
Exactly. And he come out to the show, and another guy you have to see. Just fantastic people we've had on there. And now we got one of my favorite segments.
Before you go there,
Come on.
Did any of us make it to the Harlem Nights for Rayco's Harlem Nights?
No, and my deepest sympathy to the Harlem Nights. But like Rayco said, it's a classy type of night, and it's going to be at the end of each month at Three Lakes Golf Course, Smoking Jim. And he's hoping you'll be there because you keep promising him. So I don't know what's up with that.
We have to go show him some support.
Yeah, we'll have to come out there. And looks like a good time for all there. And now, since we got the interrupt this disease here tonight, I'm going to interrupt Smoking Jim's interruption with some fiction and fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac.
Hey, thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. I appreciate it. Hey, I got an update. Last week, I made a mistake. It was actually 1986.
Wow.
That I was with Michael Jordan. I said 1985, but it was actually 1986. But anywho, there's no doubt about this year, 1992.
Whoa.
1992, we're going to talk to little Greg Lloyd tonight. Greg Lloyd was one of the meanest, nastiest, hatefulest guys you ever want to see, most in shape guy. And the Steelers facilities used to be in Three River Stadium. And Greg Lloyd used to bring his 2 Doberman pinchers to the stadium every year, and the offices was inside the stadium, and those dogs used to run free, and you used to see the sports writers running from the dogs all the time. And Greg Lloyd was so mean, and I tell you what, Greg Lloyd actually, I'm not saying he hated white people, but he hated white people at that time. And I tell you what, he didn't trust any of them. He went to all-black high school. He went to a traditionally black college, Fort Valley State. And if you were in his way when he walked, he didn't say, excuse me. He just bumped right into you.
Wow.
If you were standing
Even
around
you?
the hallway. Oh, never me.
Okay.
Never me.
Just wondered.
Yeah, I knew when the brothers was coming. But I always keep my eye on
You
the
got
brothers.
out of the way.
Yeah, I keep my eye on the brothers. But I'm the only non-linebacker, and I got to say this. Greg Lloyd really changed his opinion of white people when he met in '93 the greatest linebacker, outside linebacker in NFL history, Kevin Green. Kevin Green did a lot to change Greg Lloyd. They ended up being great friends. But anywho, this is '92. I'm the only non-linebacker in a linebackers only meeting. I'm sitting next to Tyrone Stowe, big head Tyrone Stowe. I don't know if you remember him. Greg Lloyd is up top. They got a rookie NFL linebacker coach who was a poor coach for Pitt the year before, and before that he was a terrible coach for Idaho State, but he was hired as the Steeler linebacker coach named Marvin Lewis.
Wow.
Marvin Lewis is up on the chalkboard, scared to death to talk. He can't get his words out. He don't really know what to say. Greg Lloyd stands up in a meeting, and you can hear a pin drop. Greg Lloyd said, blankety blank blank, sit your blankety blank blank down and maybe you might learn something. And Greg Lloyd goes up and explains how the defense is. You could hear a pin drop except for me. I'm laughing so hard I couldn't stop laughing. But that's my Greg Lloyd story and Marvin Lewis story. Wow. Marvin Lewis first week on the job, and Greg Lloyd gave it to him for not knowing what he
And look where he's at now, and look what he learned thanks to Greg Lloyd.
That's right.
Been a head coach for all that time.
And don't forget now, Greg Lloyd's son is playing in the National Football League, play for UConn, and him and Greg Lloyd does not have a relationship because when he was about 13, he brought home a bee, and Greg Lloyd put a gun in his mouth. It's a true story.
Well, that's saying something. Smoking, for those people out there that don't know, why Kevin Green changed Greg's opinion about things, why don't you just say a few words about Kevin?
Well, the one thing, when Kevin Green came to the Pittsburgh Steelers, the guy that gave him the hardest time was Greg Lloyd. Greg Lloyd didn't talk to him. Greg Lloyd let the media know that Kevin Green was already an all-pro, perennial all-pro. Greg Lloyd let everybody know he hasn't done, and the letter started with an S, here yet. Greg Lloyd gave him a hard time, but Kevin Green was one of those workers. He's a guy that had fun in the locker room, and before you know it, Greg Lloyd, the Steelers did a smart thing. They put their lockers next to each other, and they just became friends. And they used to go over each other's house. They were the leaders of the team. And I tell you what, Greg Lloyd really changed thanks for the influence of Kevin Green.
Well, and that's simply because Kevin Green let his performance on the field and on the practice field and in the weight room speak for him.
Yes, it was.
He didn't need to run his mouth. If he would have run his mouth, he'd have probably had a problem with Greg. But you know what? You keep your mouth shut, you work hard, and you know what? You can change all your detractors, man.
And maybe Greg Lloyd too wanted to be a tag team partner because Kevin Green was a heck of a wrestler.
Yeah, he was.
For WWE or whatever.
You know what?
it
We
was.
got like a triple fiction, in fact, on that one. Folks, there's an extra bonus from either side.
Ebony and Ivory.
You got the two guys as bookends here. One big book in the middle here. And now we'll go to this. This is my favorite section here. Chip's trivia time. And folks, he tells us disclaimer all the time that it's just useless
Fountain
information.
of useless information.
Thank you. It's not.
And I got a couple of little nuggets I can pull out of my pocket. First one is going to be hockey related. Everybody knows how much of a baseball fan I have, and I got a baseball gem for you.
Of course.
But the first one is hockey related, and in NHL history, there was the first. There's the first player to have done something, but the first player to have scored 50 goals in less than 50 games in NHL history. Does anybody have a guess at who that might have been?
Mike
Gordie Howe.
Mike Bossy.
Good guesses, all but wrong. In 1971, Phil Esposito scored
With Boston.
Well, Boston, and he was the first to score 50 goals in less than 50 games. The measuring stick had been 50 goals in 50 games, and he was the first. So that's my first little bit of useless information.
I like it.
And my next one is going to be baseball related, and I think that maybe the man on my far left might have a guess because both these gentlemen at one time played for his team. There were two ball players that never played a single inning of minor league baseball that went straight to the majors, and from the major leagues went into the Hall of Fame.
Babe Ruth.
And do you know who they are?
No, it wasn't Babe because he played for Baltimore something, a
Boston.
minor league team. No, he played for Baltimore
you're right.
in the minors, and so it has to be Yankee. It'd probably be Lou Gehrig for one,
Okay.
because he played his minor league baseball, so-called, at Columbia University. And did you say that they both played for the Yankees?
At
or-
one time, yes.
They both played for the
They
Yankees.
played for they started their careers with another team, and one guy was quite famous with his first team, and came to the Yankees as a free agent.
Reggie Jackson.
Because he played at Arizona, so it might probably. I don't think he.
Incorrect on all of them. You want to hear this? You'll like this. The first one is Jim Catfish Hunter.
Wow.
Pitched for the Oakland A's, pitched for the Yankees, and is in the Hall of Fame. The other one is Dave Winfield.
Wow.
I would have never guessed that.
Never played an inning of minor league baseball, went straight into the majors and into the Hall of Fame.
And that's why we have value to Chip's Trivia Time. Look at that. If you need an
there's
answer
another-
for trivia,
if you
you'll be
need-
a winner.
If you need some useless information, call me.
Call 412-831-3304.
That segment was incorrect. That wasn't trivia. That was Stump the Panelist. Okay, now come out with some trivia.
Oh, jeez. I'm ripping the cards.
Well, I mean,
Deal 'em.
I look for obscure facts that that escape notice, and I like to kind of bring.
You know
it to
what?
people's-
I'm
people's
telling you, that
attention.
not amazed the hell out of me, but I thought Lou Gehrig went from Columbia University to Yankees. And I thought Reggie Jackson went from Arizona to Arizona State to the Oakland A's. No.
That's the information that I
No,
that I
hey,
read,
man,
and
I'm-
I mean, they say if it's
That'll
on,
be a segment next
if
week.
it's on the internet, it's got to be true.
That's what my son says. Okay, now, since we skipped over my revisit, all I was going to tell you was that I liked your opening segment about what do you call it, Jeffrey Loria.
Yeah,
He's bad news, and I triple-double agree with you that the next explosion should be Bud Selig. I can't believe that guy's been around for as long as he has.
Well, here's the thing. What's going on there is not only is making Major League Baseball look bad. The city of Miami, the ball team, and then if you're going to allow this behavior to happen, I mean, what's to keep somebody else from doing the same thing? And I think the fans
Money.
are owed something I mean, especially when you get public funds to build a stadium that you're going to go and make your millions off of, and you tell them that you're going to fill this stadium, you're going to give them a team. You know how many people were standing in line to buy season tickets on the day the tickets went on sale this spring?
None.
4. That's 4 people. Okay, the Pirates have sold more season tickets in 10 minutes. There were 4 people standing in line. I mean, that's ridiculous. The city of Miami is one of the larger cities in the country. It's got baseball, it's got hockey, it's got basketball, and it got a professional football team. It's one of the cities with 4 major league sports in it, and to allow them to do that, it's just not right.
And 2 years ago, they used to float in on a raft from Cuba to get their season tickets.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was until Ozzie Guillen started touting
wait.
Fidel's.
He's ESPN Deportes now, He is. Got signed to do ESPN Deportes for the World Baseball Class.
Well, maybe he and Bobby Valentine can coach a team somewhere.
Maybe they could be on air together. That might help.
Yeah.
And then moving on here, we got another segment I like to bring up called boxing. And this is Smokin' Jim's expertise here. He has some boxing coming up, and he's going to inform you what's happening here this weekend.
I got a partner now in boxing, Al Levine, the talking machine. If you want the green, go to Levine. But boxing is live and well. We got April 13th, we got another pro show with Lightning Rod Solka. I think we're going to pack the house. We're going to do a great thing there. But Golden Glove starts this Saturday, March 2nd, Saturday, March 2nd. And we're going to be where the Harlem Knights resides, out there at Three Lakes Golf Course. It's going to be exciting. It's an exciting place out there on South Salzburg Road. Some people call it Penn Hills. I don't like Penn Hills, so I'll call it Plum.
Okay.
But we're out there with the Golden Gloves, and I tell you what, this year we're going to really take it to Philly. We're probably going to get 1 or 2 victories against Philly this year.
Nice. Anybody we should be looking for?
Well, I tell you what, last year we lost a lot of good amateur boxers because they wanted to hang on for the Olympics. Freddie Latham was an amateur. He stayed a few years. Later could have turned pro earlier. A lot of guys wanted to. But we got a lot of young boxers, that's up and coming. So stay posted. Keep an eye out. We'll be dropping some names of some of these guys each year because what's starting to happen in this area, Golden Gloves is still the golden boy of amateur boxing, but the Silver Gloves now is starting to take over. The president of the Silver Gloves, Scott Bradley, used to be affiliated with the Golden Gloves, so now he broke off. So there's some fighters who may have used to fight in the Golden Glove tournament, maybe jumping over to either USA Boxing or the Silver Glove. So after next Saturday, I can give you insights of who's stuck around.
We'll see who's there
Gloves.
and who's boxing. Great. Sounds like a good night there. Head on out there to Three Lakes Golf Course, Salzburg Road, whatever community it is. You can't miss it. It was a great venue last year, my first time there. And then the next segment we go is some Bucko talk. And we'll go to Bucko Baseball right here with Chipper. I don't know where he got that shirt from, but it looks pretty good on you. Spring training.
But hey, the Pirates are in the midst of about 2 weeks into spring training, and there's really, there's not really a lot to report. They're working on a lot of fundamental baseball. They've got a lot of people in camp. Some of the things that the Pirates have done over the last month or so that I think, you look at what they're investing in these moves that they made. They picked up a kid named Jose Contreras, who was a Cuban defector. That was a very effective starting pitcher in the major leagues, and he's had elbow surgery twice within the last 2 or 3 years. But they picked him up. They got him on a minor league contract, and they're going to see what he can do. At one point, he was an effective starter, and here's what the deal is: if he can pitch and can make it to the team, they're paying him next to nothing. And if he doesn't work out, what do they lose? Nothing. Brandon Inge is a quality backup third baseman that they got, signed him to a minor league contract, played for the Tigers last year, got traded to the A's, helped the A's make it to the playoffs last year. This is the kind of guy that the veteran help on the bench that the Pirates can really benefit from. He's somebody that knows what it takes to get to the postseason. He's been to the World Series back in 2006 and actually was one of the stars of that Detroit Tigers team. So, bringing in somebody like this, they're not investing a lot of money in him. And, sure, he's at the end of his career. And if he doesn't pan out, great. They're not losing anything. If he does pan out, they're not going to be paying him a lot of money. And, they get the veteran leadership that they're looking for. Got a ton of pitchers in
31, I heard. 31 pitchers.
And you know what? These guys are getting work, and they're going to find out, who's going to be the members. There's a lot of competition going on for the bench spots and everything, and that's the best way to get the best out of everybody. Nobody's position. Oh, there's a handful of guys whose positions are a lock, but there's a lot of positions that are wide open, and you got to love it because the competition can only make each and every one of those players better.
Oh, definitely. And I heard McCutchen in that interview. They were talking about, well, your stealing was a little bit weak. Are you working on that? He goes, if I'm not getting home runs, doubles, or triples, yeah, I'll work on stealing.
Well, and here's the thing that I was reading an article about him about the subject, and here's what the thing is. He's looking at some of the guys in the major leagues that are the top basal stealers. One that comes to mind is Michael Bourne, led the league in stolen bases last year, and Andrew McCutchen over the winter has been working on his technique, but he's watching tons of film on base stealers, but he's not watching the best base stealers. What he's watching is the guys with average speed and what they're doing to be successful at stealing bases, because they rely more on technique and getting the jump and looking at tells from the pitchers, because McCutchen's got the speed. Some of the better base stealers, they rely on their speed alone. They can make a late jump and steal the base. So, the guys that are a little bit slower of foot, they have to time it right. So, you can learn as much from the least successful guys as you can the most successful. And the fact that he's doing that just tells me how committed he is to being a better baseball player.
Well, I'll give him a tip. Smoking Jim watches a lot of old fights, and other boxers do. Pull out the name Maury Wills. Because he studied, he was a student of the game. He made himself in the great base stealer.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
So now Ricky Henderson's a guy that relied mostly on his speed.
And,
and he just ran wild. Look at even at an old age, he was still, leading in steals and everything else.
I mean, the size of his thighs. That kid was a sprinter, and he was like a lightning bolt.
Yes, he was.
But tell him, we got to tell McCutchen, look at Maury Wills here.
Yep.
Definitely. Study him a little bit.
But the fact that he's doing the studying, he didn't spend his off season, goofing off, getting himself thrown out of clubs and doing all the other kind of foolish stuff. That
I heard he in his interview, he said he's a boring guy. He eats Subways twice a day. How about
really?
that? Yeah, he goes, if I watch TV, I watch some YouTube, I tweet. He goes, they go, do you do anything else? He goes, no, I'm pretty boring. He goes, I go into Subway, and they know what my sub's going to be, and he described it. So he goes,
amazing,
they have it ready.
My cousin, Elizabeth White, they call her Bit, she's a hairdresser.
Bit White?
Yeah. And she used to do his hair when he played for Altoona. She lived in Altoona at the time.
There's a little more fiction in fact. I'm smoking Jim's Almanac. He's on fire tonight.
But these professional athletes, it's good to hear something like that. It's kind of refreshing because professional athletes' careers are extremely short. And they get paid a lot of money. And you see a lot of fools like Chad Ochocinco and Terrell Owens who have blown close to $100 million. You've got a short opportunity to make money. And don't be foolish and blow it, because you could set yourself up and your family and your children's children for life if you just use your head and you don't blow your money. And,
Here, one more McCutchen thing from that interview talking about vacations and blowing your money. They go, do you go on vacation? He goes, I went on one last year. Nike paid for it.
Wow, that's
so
nice.
That's why he went on vacation.
But see, that's why I have a hard time, just real quick, about Teo.
Yeah.
Is that what you call him, Teo?
Yeah, Manti Teo.
Because when I grew up, and you guys can probably relate to this, we always thought that, you wanted to be dedicated. You didn't want to run around with a lot of girls. You didn't want to run around partying. You didn't want to smoke. You didn't want to drink. So you respected guys that lived in the weight room, that lived on the track, that concentrated and focused on their sport. And that's what that guy does. But if you do that nowadays, you're considered, or
funny.
Yeah, or are you funny? This guy's just a dedicated athlete, just like Andrew McCutchen. Nobody's asking that question about him, So
good point.
Very good point, Jim, because you know what? To be honest with you, I really like athletes not being in the sports page, not being the lead-in story on Sports Center. You know what? I mean, you have a lot more respect for them, and you don't mind putting your money down and going to watch them play because you're probably going to get what you pay for.
And that's why that's why I fell in love with boxing years ago, especially as a kid. These guys used to go away sometime for 6 months and train up in the mountains. Even Muhammad Ali used to go up in Deer Lakes, Pennsylvania.
Exactly.
He had a training camp up there 3 or 4 months. They go up there and just train and go in the ring. And
and they focused on their craft. And you know what? The guys that make mega millions of dollars now, a lot of them aren't anywhere close to the athletes that we saw in the past, the people that are Hall of Famers.
I agree. And I tell you what, a lot of people were getting behind the Pirates. I was coming across the Homestead high-level bridge, and they had pictures of all the former Pirates hanging up there.
Oh, and speaking of former Pirates, I brought this up last week. 2 former Pirates are the highest paid outfielders for the Mets this year. Neither of them play for
who are they? Tell us.
And neither of them play for the Mets this year. They're their highest 2 paid outfielders, Bobby Bonilla and Jason Bay.
Wow.
And Jason Bay's trying to make the roster in Seattle. Okay? He doesn't even have a job lined up there, but he's the highest paid outfielder in the
Hey, it
Mets.
shows they have good agents.
No, that just
we talk
goes to
bad
show
about
you
agents.
how much benefit there is in spending money on high-priced free agents.
And now we're going to go to something that's not high-priced. We had an announcer here, Smoking Jim Frazier, that was going to announce basketball. I haven't heard a peep out of him. I didn't even ask last night. I let it go for tonight because I want to hear what happened with basketball.
I'm still alive!
That's what I wanted to hear.
I tell you what, I did. We had fun. We had fun over at Obama High School. And shout outs to the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette writer, Mike White, and Tribune Review writer that are so in tune with the inner city that they actually went to Rising Stein High School, which is closed now. So they were late getting to the game because they didn't know Obama High School is a former Peabody High School. But anybody can make that mistake.
Hey, one of my dad's best friends, and he was a basketball referee, was principal at Reisenstein for years. Frank Smizik, the brother of Bob Smizik.
Wow, because Bob Smizik went to Peabody.
Right.
Good friend of mine, he's Bob Smizik's in Mount Lebanon. We used to go to Mount Lebanon football games together.
There you go.
We didn't have to walk, we drove.
Nice.
Yeah.
See that?
My attorney, Michael Steinberg. Mike, my attorney.
Yeah, there you go. All right, what happened in the basketball games?
Well, what happened in the games was, I tell you what, this was the first year in a long time that Westinghouse boys was in the championship game. And luckily, unfortunately, at the Obama High School, they had a dance that night, so they started the boys' game at 11 o'clock in the morning. So a lot of people showed up late. 11 o'clock in the morning. But it was a great, great game. Westinghouse beat Peary High School, which I predicted that they would do, because some of the greatest players in City League history played for Westinghouse, and the greatest player of all time, Maurice Stokes, played there. First black player ever. Chuck Cooper played there. So that was fitting. After that game, the girls played, and Westinghouse girls played the Alderdice Dragons, and Westinghouse put it on them. I spoke to Westinghouse coach afterwards. She's been 20 straight years in the city championship game, Phyllis Jones, but I'm good friends with her husband. Her husband is a professor who works with college athletes at West Virginia University, and he was at the Combines in Indianapolis. He wasn't at the game, and he was with Tavon Austin and those people. So he's an academic advisor. He's the one that keeps those guys on the straight and narrow and keeps their grades above sea level, helps them do that so that they don't have to come out with a degree in general studies.
So the Big House won 2 games there.
Right?
Right?
Yeah, the Big House won. The crowd was great, and, there was no problems. It was a wonderful
What was
thing.
it, 5 people for the crowd?
Well, you know what?
Did they have more than that?
Well, but there was controversy. It was a technical foul before the game, and I didn't realize what it was, so I had to go down at halftime and talk to the scorekeeper. And what happened, Westinghouse, which is in Homewood, which is real far from East Liberty, maybe 3 blocks, they brought their dark jerseys, which was their away jerseys, and they didn't wear their home jerseys.
So you got a technical.
So it was too far to go back to get the home jerseys.
Sure.
So Perry brought both jerseys. So they put on the white jerseys. So instead of assessing Westinghouse a technical, they put a technical on both teams because Perry.
Nah.
So if Perry would have wore all dark, then they wouldn't have got hit with a technical, which is crazy. So I think Perry did the right thing. But both teams got hit with a technical, and it was a great, great game. But Westinghouse got a guy, you talk about the hammer. I wrote an article on the game, and I called him the hammer. This guy's name is Brown, Finney Brown, 6'9". It's only his second year playing basketball, and I tell you what, they held Perry to 28% shooting because his two commandments are thou shalt not get a rebound and thou shalt not make a layup. So Perry had to shoot all 3-point plays, and they weren't falling for him.
Well, thanks, Smoking Jim.
Well, and that's not all with the high school basketball. Tomorrow night we got the semifinals in the WPIALs.
Right.
I had a real interesting game tomorrow night between Newcastle and Seneca Valley. Seneca Valley's got a very, very strong team.
Do they?
I think they're going to...
Aren't you predicting Newcastle the whole way?
I think they're going to give Newcastle a game.
Okay.
Still think Newcastle's going to win. And in the other semifinal game, North Allegheny... they're still fielding a strong team, and I think the North Allegheny, they got beaten by Newcastle already this year. I think it's going to end up being Newcastle and North Allegheny playing for the Whippeal Championship.
Well, Newcastle beat Gateway this past weekend, so I'm mad at Newcastle.
Gateway.
Yeah, they dug Gateway
We
for
weren't
2
saying
years,
that
but
anymore.
they
Hey,
moved
Smoking
up.
Jim.
Yeah.
Fans are calling in. Hold it, I got the phone. No, never mind.
But I'll be there Saturday all
Where?
day at the Palumbo Center. I'll be there.
See Smoking Jim there.
I'll be writing an article on all the games, including the girls' games. I'm a big girls basketball fan. I tell you what, they move the ball over, they set up plays, they do a lot of great things, and I tell you what, some of the girls' assistant coaches are really good looking.
Oh, and we'll talk about that
Really
another
good
day.
looking.
Another thing.
I usually interview the assistant coaches.
They must be good looking. We'll talk about that on another segment for after the show. But I wanted to give a shout out to a friend of ours, Marty Galosi at Robert Morris. Their hockey team has 18 wins. Now that ties the most wins they've had. Now they have 2 more games to go. So maybe we'll get Marty on one of our shows here again. He always makes a great guest. We'll have to talk to him about Sip Sports Bar. He can come out there and
let's not forget about the Robert Morris men's basketball team, because they
Good
have
point, Chip.
guaranteed themselves a spot in the postseason.
Right.
They're who knows? They could be the only local team going to the NCAA.
No, and that segues. Whoa, time out. Eric, hit him with a T. Hit him with a T. Technical on that. My next point is Pitt basketball, NCAA.
I don't know. To be honest with you, I think Pitt's going to be a bubble team. I know they're ranked number 23 right now, and I know the top 65, 64, 66 teams.
Yeah,
I don't know
66.
how many. I don't know, but Pitt's lack of consistency is a problem with them. They play one game very well. They have played solid defense all year long, and Zach Brenner last night brought up a good point. I think them rotating 10 people in and out of the game has made the team a little weaker because they don't have that dominant rebounder. They don't, and they really need that. The last 3 games they've played, they've lost the rebounding battle. That's something that the Pitt team needs to win. And, I'm sorry to say it, but their foul shooting is suspect, and that's something that's been traditional with Jamie Dixon's teams. And that's what gets you bounced out of the tournament fast, because if you don't hit your free throws in the last 2-3 minutes of the game, you're one and done.
Makes sense, sir.
Wanted to ask something about the NCAA, and this involves you last week when you were talking about. I tried to. You were talking about the NCAA and the.
Yeah.
I tried understanding while you were explaining it as I'm sitting here. I went home and I watched the show 4 or 5 times on YouTube trying to understand it. Unfortunately, I just watched my segments. But today I heard that. See, the guy loves me. I can tell he loves me. He really likes me. Today I heard that LSU and Alabama have extended scholarships to an 8th grader.
They took a page right out of Gateway's book. Here's what I was going to bring this up. I was going to bring this up later because I think this is a stroke of genius.
This will be part of our closing
by Nick
remarks.
Saban, because guess what? They don't test high school and junior high school kids. So they start them on the PEDs, create a 300-pound monster. By the time he makes it to college, got another national championship. Stroke of genius.
Brilliant, Chip. Absolutely
closing
brilliant.
remarks.
That's a good closing remark. Big Mike, do you have a closing remark, or was?
Is it that time already?
Yeah,
We do
this
every
hour
week.
just flew by.
I got two goodies. Okay, number one, Manny Ramirez signed with the Chinese Baseball League.
Excellent.
How really?
He did?
Chinese Baseball League, not Mexican, not Japanese, not the Chinese. I didn't even know they had one. And secondly, is Zach Greinke of the Los Angeles Dodgers came out today. When I say out, I'm not going back there. Okay, he actually said that he signed with the Dodgers. He chose the Dodgers out of all the teams that offered him money because he went for the money. He said he would have played for a last place team if the last place team was the one that offered him the most money. Now, you got to love that guy.
Gotta love his honesty.
Yeah.
Smoking Jim, we'll let you do a little closing remark. Anything you still want to talk about?
Well, I believe the champions should defend their title. Gateway been to the Quad A championship 3 straight years. They lost the first year to Mount Lebanon, and they won the last 2 years back to back. They got knocked out by Newcastle trying to defend their title. There's 3 defending champions in the NCAA. Kentucky for March Madness. NIT is Stanford, where Ray Lewis gave the pregame speech to Stanford. They went out and won. And CBI is Pitt. I like to see Pitt defend their championship. In my opinion, Pitt is one of the 3 national champions. You got the back in the day, you used to have the coaches poll, the AP poll. Well, now Pitt, in my opinion, is the defending national champions,
The Smoking
and they
Jim
should
poll.
defend their title.
The Smoking Jim poll.
That's it.
I got it. I disagree with that. They're not paying to play this postseason. And Chip already deferred on his closing remarks.
Closing remarks. Alabama, go get them, man. Right out of Gateway's.
That was good. That was good.
I'll say Penguins. Penguins will win tonight. Good luck there. And for Trina Hess, who was on our show, you got to check out the North American Unicycling Convention, July 15th or 21st to the 27th. Check out the unicyclers. They need help, Big Mike. You'd be great on one. With your acting ability, you could act like you were on a unicycle. And then at Sip Sports Bar, check out the Nardozzi brothers. I know them from the area in the South Hills. Great band. 8:30 Saturday night, March 2nd. It conflicts with boxing, but come to 3 Lakes Golf Course. We'll be up there talking boxing. And what I want to do is tell you to check out Sip Sports Bar next Monday night. We're going to have great guests. It's a great place. You get a special meatball and French fries for $6.99. The drinks, Chief enjoyed a drink there. He couldn't stand up for about 2 hours till he left. Tracy poured him such a nice drink, he enjoyed it thoroughly. He's not really a big drinker.
Tracy provides the best service out.
And I want to thank Frank. I want to thank Devin and Aaron Ward for all the help that they give us. Without them, we wouldn't put on the show. Thanks to Dave Cable for letting us do this show each week. And thanks to you guys for watching the show. And we'll see you next week.